Stop looking at your backyard. Put the shovel down. If the sirens are already wailing and the news anchors are stuttering through reports of biting attacks, you do not have time to dig a hole. The fantasy of the underground bunker is exactly that, a fantasy that gets people killed in the first 48 hours of an outbreak. A hole in the ground without reinforced concrete, ventilation, and a drainage system is just a grave you dig for yourself. You need a fortress, and you need it before the sun goes down. The reality of a zombie-proof shelter isn't about complex engineering or years of prep. It is about rapidly converting the structure you are standing in right now into a hard-target safe room that creates physical and sensory distance between you and the infection. We are talking about physics, not movies. We are talking about friction, density, and line of sight. If you want to survive the initial purge, you need to stop thinking like a builder and start thinking like a siege commander. I'm Tom, and this is the Survival Curriculum. Today, we are stripping away the prepper forum nonsense and looking at the raw architectural requirements to survive a biological threat that doesn't feel pain, doesn't get tired, and hunts by sound. We are going to cover the 3 layers of a fast build: the perimeter, the shell, and the core. We will discuss why your windows are your biggest liability, why your front door is a joke, and how to turn a standard apartment or basement into a denial of access zone. If you are serious about having a plan that relies on structural engineering rather than luck, you need to secure your spot in this briefing right now. Like and subscribe to keep this channel in your feed, because when the grid goes down, the algorithm won't save you, but the knowledge we drop here might. Let's start with where most of you are, the city. Imagine it is 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. The screaming started 10 minutes ago. You are in a 4th floor apartment. Below you, the street is a chaotic river of panicked traffic and pedestrians trampling each other. You see the infection vectors, the shamblers, moving through the crowd. They aren't fast, but they are relentless. They are grabbing ankles, pulling drivers out of stalled cars. You hear glass shattering in the lobby downstairs. The instinct is to run, to grab a bag and hit the fire escape or the stairwell to get to a car. You can hear your neighbour in 4B shouting at his kids to pack up. He opens his door, dragging a suitcase, and heads for the elevator. You hear the ding. The doors slide open. And then you hear the wet, tearing sound of a dozen infected pouring out of that metal box. The hallway fills with the sound of snapping teeth. That neighbour is dead because he tried to move during the peak of the panic curve. In the zombie scenario, movement is exposure. The streets are kill zones. The hallways are funnels. The mistake everyone makes is assuming they need to get somewhere safe. But in an urban environment, safety is altitude and walls. The people who die first are the ones who try to outrun a threat that is everywhere. They enter the stairwells, which are acoustic amplifiers drawing every infected in the building. They try to drive, getting gridlocked in steel coffins. Your best fast build shelter isn't a cabin in the woods you can't reach. It is the room you are standing in, provided it has elevation. The zombie threat is a kinetic force. It relies on mass and momentum. Gravity is your primary weapon. By staying high, you force them to fight physics to get to you. If you're in a multi-story building, your goal is to seal the access points below you. This is the castle keep strategy. Zombies are generally motor impaired. They struggle with complex navigation and steep inclines. If you have access to the stairwell door on your landing, that is your first defensive line. You don't just lock it, you disable it. If it's a fire door, jam the mechanism with a pry bar, or fill the latch receiver with quick-set epoxy, or even wedged metal scrap. If you are on the 2nd floor or higher, destroy the stairs if they are wooden. If they are concrete, block the landing with the heaviest debris you can find. Vending machines, sofas, appliances. You want to create a physical plug. The goal isn't just to stop them, it's to disrupt the flow. A horde pushes forward. If the front ranks trip over a blockade on the stairs, they create a pile-up. That pile-up acts as a soft barrier against the ones behind them. You are using their own bodies to clog the artery. But here is the zombie-specific problem with high-rise sheltering. Acoustics. A stairwell is a giant concrete throat. If you are on the 10th floor and you drop a wrench, that sound travels all the way down to the lobby. Zombies hunt by sound. If you barricade yourself upstairs, but fail to manage your noise discipline, you are ringing a dinner bell. The horde won't just wander by, they will congregate at the base of your tower. And while individual zombies are weak, 1,000 of them pressing against a structure can compromise foundations, or at the very least, create a ladder of bodies. We have seen this in crowd crush simulations. If enough of them pile up at the entry, the ones in the back walk over the ones in the front. Eventually, they reach the second floor windows. Your elevation advantage is temporary if you don't maintain silence. The blockade buys you time, but silence buys you survival. You've secured the stairwell, but now you're inside your unit. It's night. The power is out. Outside, the city is burning, but inside, it's terrifyingly quiet. Until it isn't. You hear a dragging sound in the hallway, then a thump against your living room wall. It's not a knock. It's a body hitting the drywall. Then another. Then a low, guttural moan that vibrates through the studs. You realise the drywall between you and the hallway is only half an inch thick. You can hear their fingernails scratching against the paint on the other side. They can smell you. They can hear your breathing. And then the drywall cracks. A fist, grey and rotting, punches through the plaster like it's paper. Then another hand grabs the jagged edge. They aren't using the door. They are tearing through the walls themselves. Most modern interior walls are garbage. They are hollow cavities covered in chalk. People think walls are barriers, but in a zombie scenario, standard drywall is merely a visual screen. It offers zero structural resistance to a determined organism that doesn't feel pain in its hands. If you just lock your door and sit on the couch, you are vulnerable to a breach by attrition. A single zombie might not punch through a wall, but a cluster of them, pressing and clawing, will crumble standard construction materials. The panic reaction is to push a dresser against the wall. That helps, but dressers have legs. They leave gaps at the bottom and top. If a zombie punches through low, they can grab your ankle. If they punch through high, they can see you. You need density, and you need it fast. To harden a room fast, you use the safe box principle. You need to line the interior perimeter of your designated safe room with dense mass. Books are excellent ballistic and impact armour. If you have bookshelves, line the walls with them. Don't just place them there. Screw them into the studs if you have a drill, or wedge them tight with shims so they can't be tipped over by impact from the outside. If you don't have books, use mattresses, but understand that mattresses are for sound dampening, not impact resistance. The best expedient armour is furniture filled with heavy items. Take a dresser, place it against the threat wall, and fill the drawers with dirt from potted plants, stacks of magazines, or water containers. You are creating a sheer wall. Even if they break the drywall, they hit a solid layer of oak and compressed paper. Reinforce the corners. Structural integrity fails at the connections. Jam items into the corners of the room to brace your wall coverings against each other. Here is why this density matters specifically for zombies. It's not just about them clawing in, it's about crush pressure. In a horde scenario, the zombies in the front are being pushed by the zombies in the back. This can exert thousands of pounds of force per square foot. If your wall reinforcement is flimsy, the whole wall section can buckle inward, burying you under your own barricade. Unlike a human attacker who backs off when hurt, the horde acts like a fluid. It flows into weak points. If you leave a gap between your bookshelf and the wall, that gap allows the drywall to flex. Once it flexes, it breaks. Your reinforcements must be flush against the existing wall to transfer that load. You are not building a wall, you are thickening the existing one to withstand the hydraulic pressure of bodies. Now, look at your door, the front door of your apartment or house. It's probably wood, maybe steel clad, set in a pine frame. You hear the thudding get louder. The horde has bypassed the stairwell blockade. They are in the corridor. The doorknob starts to turn. Not because they know how to use it, but because bodies are brushing against it. Then the slamming starts. Boom, boom, boom. The door jumps in the frame. You see dust puffing out from the strike plate where the deadbolt goes into the wood. The wood is splitting. A hairline crack appears near the lock. You can hear the wood groaning. It's not the lock that fails, it's the frame. With one final, collective heave from the mass outside, the door frame splinters, and the door swings open, not inward, but tearing right out of the wall. People trust locks. That is a fatal error. A lock is only as strong as the wood it is screwed into. Most residential door frames are made of soft pine, held in place by 1-inch trim screws. A strong kick from a living human can breach them. A relentless push from 3 dead ones will pop it open like a soda can. Standing behind the door with a baseball bat is a suicide plan. Once the door opens, the funnel effect takes over. You cannot swing a bat in a doorway clogged with reaching arms. You cannot hold the door shut with your shoulder against the weight of 5 people. The moment that latch gives way, your shelter is compromised, and your safe room becomes a trap. You need to mechanically transfer the force from the door to the floor and the structural walls. The fastest way to do this is a floor brace. Take a sturdy piece of lumber, a 2x4, or even a solid ironing board leg. Wedge one end under the doorknob and the other end against the floor at a 45-degree angle. Kick the base tight, but don't stop there. Friction slips. You need to nail or screw a cleat, a block of wood or a shoe, into the floor behind that brace so it can't slide backward. Next, disable the door's movement entirely. If the door opens inward, screw heavy plywood across the entire frame, overlapping the drywall by at least 6 inches on both sides. Use long screws, 3 inches or more, to bite into the studs, not just the trim. If you have no wood, stack your heaviest furniture in a pyramid shape. Wide base, narrow top. The goal is to make the door part of the wall. Here is the zombie twist that standard home defense guides miss. Fluid dynamics. Zombies are leaky. They bleed, they purge fluids, and they decompose. If you have a horde pressing against your door, even if the door holds, you are going to get leakage. Infected blood and bile will seep under the door jamb. If the virus is airborne or contact transmissible, your barricade just became a biohazard vector. You need to seal the gap before you pile the furniture. Duct tape the seams. Stuff towels soaked in bleach, if you have it, into the crack at the bottom. Do not leave a sight line or an airflow gap. Also, remember that zombies don't stop when they break a limb. If they punch a hole in the door, they will keep pushing their arm through until the skin strips off. A hole in the door is a grappling hook for them. Seal it completely. Day 3. The barricade's held. The door is a mountain of furniture. The windows are boarded and blacked out. You are safe from the teeth. But now, you have a headache that won't go away. You feel dizzy. The air in the room is thick, hot, and smells of sweat and unwashed bodies. You are in a sealed box. You lit a few candles for light, and they are flickering low. You are running out of oxygen. Carbon dioxide is building up. You stumble toward the window, desperate to pry off a board just to get a breath of cool air. You pull the nail out, the board creaks, and instantly a grey face presses against the glass from the fire escape. It was waiting. It heard you moving. This is the paradox of the zombie shelter. You want to keep everything out, so you seal everything up. But you are a biological engine that consumes oxygen and expels carbon dioxide. If you do your job too well, you kill yourself. In World War II air raid shelters, CO2 poisoning was a real killer. In a zombie apocalypse, opening a window to vent is a death sentence because it breaks your noise and smell discipline. You cannot just crack a window. That small gap is a funnel for sound to escape and for the scent of fresh meat to drift out, drawing the dead right to your location. You need controlled, baffled ventilation. You need air intake low and air exhaust high. Hot air rises. But you cannot have a direct line of sight. If you are boarding up a window, leave a 2-inch gap at the very top. But don't just leave it open. Build a baffle box over it on the inside. Imagine a box with an opening facing the ceiling, not the room. Line the inside of that box with carpet or foam. This creates a tortuous path for sound. The air can flow in and over the baffle, but the sound of your breathing or movement is absorbed by the lining before it can exit the gap. Cover the external gap with heavy-duty mesh or screen, multiple layers. This prevents insects, which can carry infection, and prevents a zombie from sticking fingers through. You are building a muffler for your safe room. Specific to zombies, sound travels through ductwork. If you are in an apartment building, the HVAC vents connect you to every other unit. If a zombie is groaning in Unit 4A, that sound travels through the metal ducts into your room in 4B. Worse, if you scream or drop something, that sound broadcasts to the entire building. You must block the internal vents. Unscrew the register, stuff the duct with pillows or towels as deep as you can reach, and then seal the grill back on with duct tape. This kills the intercom effect. However, this cuts off your central air. That's why the baffled window vent is non-negotiable. You are severing the building's shared lungs to stop the infection from hearing you, so you must build your own lungs. Let's pivot to the suburban scenario. You have a house. You went to the basement because the walls are concrete. It feels solid. You're sitting in the dark, listening to the footsteps on the floorboards above you. They are in the kitchen. But they can't get down to you. You reinforced the basement door. You feel smart. Then you hear a crunching sound. Not from the stairs, but from behind you. High up on the wall. The narrow rectangular window, the window well, just shattered. A zombie fell into the well outside, smashed the glass, and is now thrashing on the floor of your shelter. And another one is falling on top of it. Your bunker just became a funnel for the dead. Basements are great for bullet protection, but they are treacherous for zombie defense. The weak point is always the grade level access. Those small windows at the top of the basement wall are usually single pane glass, often hidden by bushes. People forget them. But zombies stumble. They trip over bushes and fall into window wells. Once one falls in, it thrashes and breaks the glass. Then it crawls in. Or worse, it fills the well, and the next zombie crawls over its back. You cannot leave these unaddressed. If you retreat to the basement without hardening the exterior wells, you are trapping yourself in a glass coffin. Before you lock yourself downstairs, you must secure the exterior. If you have time, cover the window wells with heavy grating or plywood weighted down with pavers. If you are already inside, you have to block them from the interior. Do not just tape cardboard over them. You need to build a shutter. Screw thick plywood directly into the concrete foundation if you have masonry screws. If not, build a brace. Stack heavy storage bins filled with clothes or books, floor to ceiling, in front of the window. You need to withstand the impact of a falling body. Think of it like a dam. The window well is the reservoir, the zombie is the water. If the glass breaks, your interior barricade must hold back the flood. The final basement killer is invisible: radon gas and mold. Basements are damp and have poor airflow. If you seal yourself in for weeks to hide from zombies, and you are using a bucket for a toilet because the sewage lines are backed up, the biological load in that air becomes toxic. But specifically regarding zombies, the rot factor. If a zombie dies or gets stuck in your window well, it decomposes. That putrid liquid seeps down. If your window seal isn't watertight, you'll have liquefied infection dripping into your shelter. You need to have plastic sheeting, vapor barrier, taped over those window barricades. You are defending against solids, liquids, and gases. You can build the walls. You can baffle the vents. You can survive the first week. But understand this: the threat outside is changing. In the beginning, they were scattered, chaotic. But as the noise of the city dies down, the hordes are merging. They are becoming sensitive to smaller and smaller sounds. They are sweeping the streets like a dragnet. Your shelter buys you time, but it does not buy you a future. Eventually, the water runs out. Eventually, the silence drives you mad. The shelter is just a cocoon. You have to be ready to emerge, and when you do, the world will be different. If you want to know how to break out of your own fortress when the supplies hit zero, you need to be here for the next briefing. We are going to cover the breakout, moving through a density 4 zone. Don't let your subscription lapse, because the moment you stop learning is the moment you join them. Stay hidden. Stay quiet. You survived the simulation. Now survive the reality. Equip yourself at the official supply depot. Because if the world is going to end, you might as well look prepared.